Okay, folks.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
We have some good news, we have some bad news. Good news is, we're happy to listen to you. Bad news is, there's not gonna be a meeting tonight because 2 of our councilmen are sick and don't wanna be here to conduct business. So, we will listen to you, Mr. Gromling and the mayor will, and we can do that, but we can't conduct business. So we will not be able to sign a police contract. We will not be able to do the budget for you until those councilmen show up. And what I will have to do is I will have to call for a special meeting to do those items because we have a time clock clicking to the end of the year when we have to pass a budget. So let's hope that the other councilmen feel better, I guess is the best way to put it. That would be Fred Smith and Rick McDonald, who are not here. So, with that,
There's no business to vote on it.
thank you.
I'll remove myself.
So, since we're no longer in the formal meeting situation, what I'll do is I'll start with the people on the sign-up list here, and then we'll listen to anybody else. So the first person I have here is Herb Scholl. Go ahead, Herb.
Want to ask a few different questions. Number one, are they going to repave Front Street here next summer or leave it patched up like that?
Mr. Gromling, could you answer that for him? What the plan is there?
The plan was to bid that work early January, I believe, into February, and see what contracts we could come up with to do that work on this large grant project after all the utility work is prepared, completed. So the answer to that is, the intention is yes, to have that between the 2 sections that were paved at the ends, where all the mess is from the pipe work, is to come back and repave that after the utilities are done, sidewalk work is done, and everything else.
So it should be by next summer?
No. Anything with prevailing wage, contracts, grant funds, unfortunately, seems to drag out to a year, sometimes year and a half. It's just, they're allotted that in their time frame of the contract. So the goal would be that they probably, if we award that work, a large majority of the work would start and be done. Paving may not be done till the next summer. And I mean, if you're unhappy with how the work is, PennDOT and the municipal authority, okay?
Yeah,
This was nothing in the borough. I mean, the only thing that pushed the municipal authority is number one, the borough has a grant to do work here, to improve sidewalks, to improve the park. So before they pave and do all that, the water main, it was what, 1894, okay, needed to be replaced. So that was the push for the municipal authority to do that, and they did that, okay? So that messed up patch job, PennDOT said was perfectly fine, and others said was perfectly fine. I drive up down here 3-4 times a day. I understand. It was no different than Helm Street. Okay, I'm unhappy with how the sidewalks were fixed in some areas, but this is what you get.
Okay.
and if you wanted to address that to the municipal authority, that would be Fred Smith, who is sick.
Yep. And he'll be here most likely for Thursday's meeting.
Thursday meeting might have a miraculous recovery, I don't know, we'll see.
The second thing, I don't know if you can bring anything up. You have action items here. Can I?
We can talk to you about it, we can't take action.
Okay. I'm sort of against number 4, which says about to abolish all wards. If it be up to me, you should have 5 wards instead of 3. Because the more input you have, you don't have one person or 2 people dictating everything that you do. My personal opinion, I'd rather see 5 wards. Somehow you split it up whichever way you want to, but My personal opinion, you should have more wards than no wards.
Is your concern having more council people, and you think the only way to get to that is with wards? Because, let me give you some more information on this, which probably hasn't been made clear, and that's my fault for not making it clear. With the abolishment of the wards, okay, by borough code, you immediately go to 7 members at large. So the council, at the next municipal election in 2 years, feel free to jump in here if I say so. At the next municipal election, you would go to 7 members at large. And the elections would be like, the next one would be vote for 4 people from this list, and they could be anybody within the borough. And then the 2 years after that, it would be you would vote for 4 in the next 2 years. The 2 years following that, which would be your alternate, then you would vote for 3, then back to 4, and back to 3. So you wouldn't be limited to 1 or 2, or, 2 people representing one of the wards in the 3-ward system. And you would only be, right now, you're only able to vote for one of those every 2 years. So that would be, an improvement since you have more representation. If that helps you to.
No, I still think you should not abolish the ward system. If anything, put 2 more in. I realize where you're coming from, but that's not a borough. Every borough that I know have ward systems, and I don't know of any.
There aren't any. There's only one other one in York County.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one it is.
Columbia has 9 wards.
Yeah, but they also have votes at large.
Well, they have say at the borough council meeting.
Sure, and this would, and in this case, it would be the same way. All 7 members would be members, just like there's 6 now. There would be 7, and they would all have a say.
Or I think that you think maybe the people that represent you don't speak, maybe you only hear a few people speaking, going out meeting with people, because those are the people that want to be involved and run things. Okay, anybody up here could have stepped up and done those things. Some people choose not to jump in front of the fire. Okay, some people tend to stand back there and say, I'm not going to get burnt. Other people jump in front of it and they lead and they push a path forward. Some people just sit. All they do is come to these meetings. They don't go to the extra meetings. They don't get involved. Okay? So whether you have 10 wards or not, these people may be focused on what's going on in front of their house, but not overall in the borough. Okay?
Well, that's why
You're
you
only
have
going to get
elections.
people.
That's why you have elections.
It is. And maybe we should just go to 2-year terms. Maybe the state should say, to heck with this. 2-year terms. And then if these people aren't doing their job, you vote them out in 2 years. Don't keep the same people for 4 or 5 years. Because that's how the state is now.
I agree with that, but I think the people in their ward should vote whoever they want in or out, depending on the job that they do, either here or out in the field. And that's why I still think you should have ward system instead of abolishing it. That's just my opinion. I don't know.
Thank you, appreciate that. Is there any
Yeah, I'm looking down the list here, and you said about the green infrastructure project. What does that entail? It's number 14 on the list.
John, you wanna?
That's the park project. It's just wrapping up now.
Okay,
The stormwater basins up at the north end, the trails, the restrooms, all of that work. It's pretty much buttoned up for the year. We'll get it finished in the spring.
okay. I saw your extended plan was on a bulletin here last year, whatever, with this and that and everything else.
Oh, with all the projects?
Yeah, with all the projects. So, also, is next year another project coming through, or?
Not on the park unless council decides to apply for another grant. The problem, just by way of background, the South Front Street project you asked about, that's tied in with the park project. The ponds were put in with a DEP grant. So council did a great job of mixing and matching grants over the last couple of years. We don't have another grant for the park. Council may decide to apply for one when that opens back up. The problem with grants, I don't wanna get too deep, grants are 50% matches.
Yeah.
So it's great to get a grant, but then you have to match it.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, next on the list we have Crystal.
Okay, so I'm gonna come over here so I can see Solicitor Nahas as well. So, I'm here to talk about number 4, because we've been going back and forth on Facebook about this. And so, number 1, first of all, let me say I'm kind of disappointed that Mr. Bear walked out, but I'm not surprised, so. I don't feel I need to justify why I haven't been to any meetings. Y'all know I have kids. I have a lot going on in my life. I don't need to justify why I don't come to Borough Council meetings. I sat up here for 8 years. I did my civic duty. What does need to be justified is why, if you guys have discussed this ordinance there, this abolishment of the ward system more than once, why it's not in the minutes. I'd really like to know why it was not in the minutes. It should have been there. This is an important issue. So I don't need to justify why I'm not here. You guys need to justify why these things are not in the minutes, and you guys approve them. A question was asked, I asked a question, and immediately things get deflected back on me. Well, why didn't you do something while you were on council? Well, you know what? We have solicitors for that, and the solicitors should be advising their council on this stuff. And you can sit there and chuckle, Eric.
I remember your
But-
solicitor.
Okay, yeah, I remember our solicitor too, and yeah, I can go on and on about that. But, I'm sorry, but that's the solicitor's job to let council know that, okay, we just had a census take place, now we need to do something, okay? That didn't happen. I went through the state reapportionment back in 2000, and I know it's horrible, and there's a lot of infighting, there's a lot of court proceedings that go on because everyone's dickering over whose district they're gonna divide up and which town is gonna go to this rep, and it's a mess, okay? I dealt with it, I already know more about reapportionment than you guys do, okay? I worked it. So what I wanna know, who on this council did their due diligence to truly research what goes into the abolishing of the ward system? I wanna know, you're telling me that this is gonna cost thousands of dollars. It can cost tens of thousands of dollars to redraw
Not the
lines.
abolishment. The abolishment doesn't cost tens of thousands.
Okay,
The abolishment is filing an ordinance and passing the ordinance.
okay,
So it's the cost of filing an ordinance, which is a couple $100.
and then I'll get to that in a minute. So, you're telling me that thousands of dollars are gonna be spent to redraw lines. No, Mr. White,
Somebody has to.
thousands of dollars are gonna be spent regardless if you abolish these wards or you try to redraw the lines, or you just leave it alone, okay? Because I talked to the county solicitor. I called the Bureau of Elections and I got sent to Michelle Perkrifta, who I'm sure you know because she's from CGA. So, Mr. Nahas, I'm quite disappointed with you because as a solicitor for the borough, you gladly wrote that ordinance for him. But did you do your due diligence and advise your clients, the ones that we put in this office, we pay your salary, did you do your due diligence and figure out what goes into the abolishment of a ward system? Because this has to go to court, and this is gonna cost thousands of dollars.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I've read the borough code and the process for abolishing the ward system.
This borough code's outdated. I talked to Michelle.
Okay.
Okay, nothing can be done with this until after the state's done with the reapportionment. So what I'm learning here tonight is that I've done more research in the past 4 days than any of you have, okay? So this is gonna cost money, and I wanna know, and I guess you can't discuss it tonight anyway, because you don't have a quorum, so you can't do the budget, which is quite unfortunate. I mean, I lived through this crap fest before, which is why I was always jumping up and down, screaming, hooping and hollering, gotta get your budget in. You know that. I wanna know where in the budget the thousands upon thousands of dollars are allocated when you go and abolish this ward system. Okay? And this isn't a state or federal issue. I don't see how you're gonna have people out there hooping and hollering, trying to file lawsuits against you redistricting. I don't even think it's necessary at this point. Our wards, I sat down, I have the street lists right here, looked them over, and yes, they are disproportionate. First ward has 419 voters, give or take a few because of deaths or moving in and out of borough. Second ward has 449. Third ward has 579. That's 1,440 voters in our borough, okay? Currently, again, plus or minus some because of deaths moving in and out, whatever. If you look at these street lists, and you're taking away from the third ward, on my block, if you took Hybla and you took the even side of Vine Street and you combine that into the second ward, you get 478 voters in the second ward. If you want it to be proportionate, you want at least 480 voters or somewhere around there to get close to making it equal within the borough. You take another, where'd I go? You take another 62 voters, you take Chestnut Street, and you take the 400 and 500 blocks of Helm Street, and you move them into the first ward, you've got 481 voters in the first ward. Taking the third ward down to 481 voters. That was 5 minutes of me sitting there looking at the lists.
5 minutes to write it down, now you have to go do it.
I understand that,
Okay.
but that's
How
what
much
I'm
is that
trying to
gonna-
explain
How
to
much
you.
is that gonna cost you?
How much is it gonna cost you to abolish the ward system? I just told you, I talked to the county solicitor. I talked to her. It's gonna cost you money either way. Leaving it alone, which I don't even know that you can do this, because first of all, of our borough size, second of all, there might be a limit as to what you can do. But again, nobody did their research here.
Minimum 350 people per ward, yeah, I know.
Okay.
I did do the research.
Okay, well, when I asked these questions, I wasn't getting those answers. All I kept hearing was, it's an antiquated system and we're one of the only ones that do it anymore. West York Borough has one polling location. Okay, West York Borough is a comparable size borough to us. One polling location, they use Reliance Fire Hall. That's fine, and I'm sure that if need be, the fire department would open their doors for polling. I know Jim Switzenberg has already said he'd reopen the banquet room for
Can't,
polling
but there's where you're wrong.
because of the
Because of the
alcohol.
liquor, yeah.
Okay, so my concern, and I didn't think about the alcohol thing, so thank you, and I guess they didn't have the liquor license back in the early 2000s when we moved in, so that's why we were allowed to poll there. I don't think they did.
Maybe the rules were different then, I don't know.
But, so we can't use that as a viable solution. So again, I know we had about 450 voters this past election. You're not gonna cram people into this
Yeah.
place to poll.
But-
The only place that would be viable would maybe be the Presbyterian Church, but that's only if they allow us back in that back room, which they're not doing because of COVID. So we're not even allowed back in that big community room. We're talking about moving the second ward up to the Slavic Church because of the bigger community area that's there. And the parking is right outside the door, it's ADA accessible. That might be an option. I'm just saying, this stuff was not thought through very well. And I don't see how we're gonna be allowed to keep 3 polling locations if you abolish the ward system. I don't see how that's gonna be possible.
Well, you should talk to the county.
I've tried to talk to the county about it,
I have
okay?
talked to the-
Thankfully, I've talked to Michelle.
I
She
haven't.
called me at the last minute. She is the county solicitor.
Okay, not my solicitor.
I'm just
I have
telling
my
you.
solicitor, yeah.
This is, well, I'm not too impressed with him. So, I'm just telling you. I've done more research in the past 4 days because this was thrown on the town at the last minute, and I still don't quite understand this. Yes, it was. It really was.
Whatever.
That's okay, whatever. I love the banner back and forth here. So I'm still waiting for the actual justification of why we want to do away with the ward system.
Because we don't want to pay for reinforcement.
Okay, well, you're gonna pay either way, so I just don't quite understand.
And there's other citizens that want 4 members, want 10 members.
I don't agree with that, but that's my opinion on that matter. But I'm just saying, I really don't see the need for 7 council members up here. I have my opinions.
We have 7 municipal authority members.
I don't know why we have that many.
I,
I'm just saying, but now, so now you
That was all
want
here when I got
so it's like you just wanna follow what the municipal authority
No.
has. So they got 7, well, then why don't we have 7? I mean, that's what it sounds like.
no, but it would give us a better voting situation.
There you go. Thanks, I just made my point.
Good. We have a better chance of having a quorum, which we don't have.
No, if you want to piss off your members.
Okay, anyone else? Questions, comments?
I do.
Go ahead.
I wanna know what's gonna happen to my job if you become one ward.
What is your job?
I'm judge of elections, elected.
Okay. There is no change in the polling places proposed or anticipated at this time.
So the county, even though we have one board, the county's gonna pay 3 judges?
We would have voting at large. We would not, these people would still vote where they vote.
But you can vote for whoever you wanted to.
No, you would be voting for all the candidates. In other words, your ballot, instead of the ballot saying just one.
Instead of me voting for Mike, I could vote for Don or you or anybody.
Anybody, you would pick 4 from the list of people that are running for office. You would have a voice on everybody that's on council, not just the one member that's on the ballot in your ward. You would be able to pick 4 people. And then at the next election, you would pick 3 people. This is the way they do it in almost every borough in the county. We're one of the last that has the ward system. I think, the last I was told there was 2, us and someone else, which I forget the name now. But there was one other borough, and that was a couple of years ago when we first took a look at this.
Okay, and whatever. So you're saying that if we abolish it, we're not gonna pay any money, but if we keep it, we have to pay,
We're going,
we have to pay thousands of dollars?
if you keep it, at some point we're going to have to do reapportionment because Crystal wants to move people around. And the minute you do that, people are going to be upset. Somebody has to sit down and do the analysis officially. Somebody has to draw the lines in a fair manner, and
I think it's fair, I got the most. Woo, woo!
well, the people in Ward 2 and Ward 1 don't like that.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm in Ward 1. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, good, great.
Either way, it's gonna go to court, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Either way, this has to go before court, and that's gonna cost thousands of dollars. And I wanna know where in the budget you have it, whether you abolish it or redraw the lines, it's going to cost thousands of dollars. Where is it in your 2022 budget to pay for that?
Well, we just got an extra $7,700 in our budget, so.
No, hopefully that's enough. Just saying, there's gonna be a cost. Do you think that there's not gonna be a cost by abolishing?
Either way.
You're not putting that out there to people. You're making it sound like abolishing the wards is just free and clear. No, it's not. And now you've already paid the solicitor to go and draft an ordinance. That's my tax dollars.
Sure.
I'm gonna hoop and holler and jump up and down because I don't agree with how you're doing this.
Then, like I said, Crystal, you know how this works. You were here. You were here for 8 years.
Yes, I was.
Okay, so you know how it works. If people don't show up and talk to us.
I sat there and read the minutes.
Facebook is not the official borough interface, okay, even though.
No,
you
but
can't go
it
through
certainly
internet.
gets people chatting back and forth and wondering what the
And
heck's
here
going
they all are.
on. Well, so then I did my job. I got people here to ask questions.
Okay.
Sorry, I
so
don't have quorum.
Who else would like to ask questions? Did I answer? You have anything else?
Oh, I got more. I got
Okay, go
more.
ahead.
Okay, so forgive my ignorance, I thought the whole purpose of having the wards and me voting for people in my ward is because they're live near me and they're looking out for, they talk to us and they're looking out for our best interest to make sure that we are all taking care of our areas. So, is that correct?
If that's what you believe it to be, sure. In actual practice,
Thank you, that's what I'd like to know, because as I said, in my ignorance, you could school me on it.
in actual practice, and any other former council member will tell you the same thing, the borough doesn't act on individual ward things. He doesn't say, like Mike over there doesn't say, hey, I need this done in my ward, and just my ward's gonna get this, and then we all fight about who gets it. As a borough, we just do projects and everything as one unit. I don't think we've ever had a discussion about how Ward 1 should get this, and Ward 2 should get that.
Right, but if I have a problem, I'm gonna go to Mike because he's in my ward. I voted for him. I want him to help me out and tell me what I'm gonna do about A, B, or C, because I voted for him and he's in my ward. I'm not gonna go to you, because God bless you, I don't really know you very well, to come to you and ask you something. I voted for him because he's in my ward, and he doesn't really live near me, but he's in my ward and I know him. So I thought that's how it works. So I was confused of why I'm gonna vote for anybody and everybody. I just,
And that's great, with picking four people from the list, you could pick 4 people that currently live in what you call, whatever you call Ward 1, or Ward 3, or Ward 2. You could pick 4 people and try to get everybody from your ward on council. But I can guarantee you, wherever you're at in the borough, if you bring like a problem, he's gonna look to solve that problem, regardless of where you live. So,
I don't need to worry about it because he lives in my ward.
I mean, the town is 0.6 square miles. It's not, we're not talking about Philadelphia or Harrisburg or some big town.
And you read all that on rants and raves, which I don't try not to even, sometimes I want to type an answer, but I just keep my mouth shut because it's usually better. I keep my mouth shut, but so the craziness that I'm reading about, you're doing it, and some of you others are doing it to just get all your friends in and have the good old boys club. Is that not correct? Because I don't like to read stuff and just assume that what somebody's saying is the truth.
Well,
So I'm asking you point blank, is that part of the reason why you're doing that, so you can get other people in? Because you have friends in other wards?
That's not why I want to do it, Mary Ellen. I see the struggle to get people to run in some of the wards. And I personally, the same thing I typed today on Facebook this morning.
I read that, yes, and I was like,
I believe if you open it up, you get people that truly want to be here and will put their heart into this. Sometimes we struggle to find people. If somebody has a health issue and can't make it anymore and they step down, we have to go, around trying to find somebody in a small area that wants to do this. And the luck we've had, in my opinion, it's not been great. We get people, well, I really don't want to do it, but if nobody else will do it, I'll do it. Is there a heart into
really
it?
don't do it.
Is there a heart into it? And that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Maybe somebody, if we open it up, somebody that really wants to get involved, will run and be involved. And it's not just, well, we need to find somebody in this ward.
Well,
That's just,
that's
and
why
maybe I'm wrong.
I wanted real answers.
I've seen that with 3 different times here in the borough in the past 7 years. Okay? And we always end up, well, I really don't want to do it, but I'll fill in. And then you have people that don't come to meetings, or they don't want to go to the extra meetings, and everything does get dumped on 1 or 2 people, and it seems like those 1 or 2 people are the ones always running everything. And again, like I said to Mr. Scholl, okay, if people want to be here and step up, they're going to be the ones that come here and step up and put their faces out. They're going to go to the community events. They're going to go to the fundraising events. They're going to go to the county meetings. They're going to go to DCNR meetings and say, we would like to do these projects. But sometimes we struggle to get people that want to be involved. Maybe by opening it up, we're getting more people that want to be involved. Maybe not. But I can tell you right now that when I go to a county meeting for various things, it's usually the same 3 or 4 people, and it's the same thing in all the other boroughs as well. It's the same people representing the small group interest. That's just my opinion.
Very good answer. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much.
My opinion too, because as you can see who's here. I mean, I've been attacked for this, for being in the photo ops and all that kind of stuff, but as any of the professionals will tell you, the way you get grant money is you show up for their events, you show up for their dinners, you show up for their ribbon cuttings, you show up for their speeches, and you spend the time with the party, and you spend the time, at the fundraisers. And then they become your friends, and then when you call them, they'll take your call, okay? And the payback is that they get a higher attention, so they get reelected. It's not so hard to get. It's not as hard to get elected in Wrightsville because, like Mike said, we've had times when we've gone around trying to find candidates that want to run. Nobody wants to run. I mean, and take for example Larry, okay, that everybody's been picking on. Larry's not a bad guy. And Larry didn't run. Larry did not run for the last term. He did not go to the polls. He did not show up. there was one loud person and her husband who got Larry written in. And Larry said, look, and he told us this from the very beginning. He said, look, I'll take the seat, but I don't, he said, I'll take the seat so there's somebody there, because we talked to him, Larry, are you gonna take the seat? Larry will take the seat, and he'll take the seat, but he'll only come when he can. He's got a busy life, and this is not his focus, but if we really need him to come in and vote on something, or something's happening, he'll come and do it,
I don't want a
okay?
person like that on the council.
Excuse me?
I don't want a person like that on the council.
I understand, but you understand nobody else stepped up. There was nobody who was taking the seat, okay? Larry came in, Larry took the seat, and as you saw, Larry wasn't here very much, okay? And it was never really an emergency situation where Larry had to come in, not that many to get to vote, because we generally had enough quorum. But as you can see right now, we're having a little internal disagreement and about things which,
I know, I'm on a
Okay.
board, and then you all know.
Okay.
I know all about
Okay.
internal.
and you can see that we have two sick members who aren't showing up, okay? Take them at face value, say they're sick, I don't know, whatever. But they're not here to take care of the important business of the borough, take care of the business of your borough, to get our budget passed, to get our police contract service, which we negotiated in good faith, got a good contract, saving you money, got it all worked out, but we had two people that won't show up so that we could vote on that contract. So come the end of the year, if they play this game till the end of the year, you're not gonna have police coverage. You know, I don't know what will happen at that point. We'll have to see. You won't have a budget. God only knows what that means. People won't get paid, maybe, I don't know. We've never had this situation. But here we are, people playing games. So, you know, we're here, I'm here, we're here to answer your questions as best we can. Do we do everything exactly correct? Probably not. I'm not a professional politician. I get paid $50 to be here. And I turn my money back into the borough, as does Mike, and then some. Some of it's hanging on the wall right there, okay? So, you know, what can we do? We're doing the best we can.
Thank you.
Herb,
If you have trouble getting 2 people or 3 people in, to put up in each ward to vote on, what makes you think you're gonna get 4 to vote on throughout the whole
Crystal,
thing?
would you like to answer that for me?
I don't know how.
We always have 27 people in Ward 2 that wanna run. And
That's true,
and
it's
No,
like Ward
but
2, you can
I'm
find
just
people
saying,
on Ward 2, but.
You have
yeah.
trouble getting 2 people, how the hell are you gonna get 4 people?
Because right now, I can count that many people that would be willing to serve. But they live in wards that are not compatible with what's available, what was available. That's why. We need people that wanna show up, people that wanna do things. I mean, the person that I defeated, the person that Don defeated, in the election, Ed Sipes is on council for a long time. Ed likes to be involved. Nothing wrong with Ed, he's judge of elections in Ward 2 right now, you know? Not a bad guy, he wants to serve. He showed up, he was always at the meetings. But you know, it has to be one or the other right now, because we can't have, you know, other people. So.
Well, I'd rather vote for somebody in my ward than
And you
vote.
can, with the new, with no wards. You can vote for as many people as you want in your ward. As many people that wanna step up, or you wanna step up, or we vote for you. I can vote for you.
I mean, they live in my ward, they know what's going on in my
Sure.
ward, just like Mike does,
Sure.
okay? Now, he's one of the few, my personal opinion, I don't know the man that much, he's one of the few that takes care of his ward and does extra work that doesn't have to be done, or it has to be done, but he takes the next step.
He does that all over town.
I know.
He takes care of the whole town like that.
I know, but I'm just saying, how many more are you thinking about getting like Mike?
I hope we
none,
keep
Herb.
like,
My intent is to leave next month. I will not work for the incoming imbeciles, okay, that have nothing but personal agendas, in my opinion. I will
What?
not. Next month, at the end of the month, I intend to be out of this borough as an employee. I intend to sit here on council and represent the people to the best of my ability, but as far as working for the people that to me, with too much personal agenda, too many personal ties in certain things, I will not do it. So just let that, when I put in my 2-week notice next month, don't be, oh my God, because I'm giving you fair warning.
It
And
would
I
be a
hope
great
that-
loss.
And
to
I
this
hope that the
borough.
borough does not hire from within one other agency or whatever. I hope the borough uses a satisfactory application process and screens to make sure we get a good candidate in this borough. And as long as I'm sitting here, that's what I'm gonna fight for. Because Crystal, how many applications went through when I got the job? 8,
We had,
at least 8.
yeah, and
Okay.
I sat on the committee to hire Tammy. I know the hiring process, and yes, there's, I will say with the one thing that's on the agenda to appoint a new person tonight, we dealt with that twice while I was sitting on council, but we also had 30 days to accept applications. And we did have applications, and that's how Rick got on the council. He was one of a few other applications that we had. So it's not saying that you're not gonna find candidates within the borough. But
within the ward.
within the ward, exactly. Now, because those council members that had left were both in the first ward, luckily we had people that were willing to come, and they did show up, and they did their jobs. I will say that. We had a good council. And I'm not trying to put anyone down. That's not my intention. I made my mistakes on council, and you know what? I still have to answer for those. And I'm well aware. I didn't do everything perfect, but I will say that as council members, we don't sit there and we don't try to figure out what pet project we can do for our ward. We are working for the whole borough. Although, when I sat on council, Eric was my representative for the second ward, because I didn't represent myself. That's just not the way I saw it. I'm a civic, I'm doing a civic duty, I'm a public servant, I'm not there to serve myself. So Eric was my representative, or Ed was my representative. That's the way I viewed it. That's my view on things.
Go ahead.
Eric, I don't know if he or she, whoever got the new mayor position, is here tonight.
Should not.
No.
But my intention is to find out from he or she what their intentions are for this borough.
Good luck. Good luck, because he or she
Is
hasn't
it,
been to a complete council meeting ever that I know.
Well, she made it all clear on Facebook.
Yeah, you're welcome to talk to her. She lives up, she's in first ward. So,
I don't know her, never met her. I can't say anything, but I was hoping that she would be here tonight so I can ask what her intentions are for the next year or however long she's gonna be in office, what her intentions are. Okay? And that means a lot to these people here if she comes in and ramrods a bunch of garbage through.
I don't know that she's gonna be able to do that, Herb, because I'm not sure she fully grasps the mayor's position in a borough.
Well, here's the gentleman right there that said he's going to be done.
Yeah,
I'm done as an employee. I'm gonna sit and serve my term on council.
Okay. So
I'm
you'll
not gonna
still be
walk away
on
from
council,
people.
you'll still be on council. Okay, but,
and then we're gonna try to replace him at about 35% of the current salary for his job, which we're not gonna be able to do. I can tell you that right now. And what we're gonna end up at, I'm gonna predict this
I'm not
right
gonna
now.
find somebody as committed as he is.
When he leaves, okay, and if I can't convince him to stay, and I'm gonna keep trying, but if he leaves, we have to try to replace him at market price if we can find somebody else that works as hard as him. And I'm telling you right now, I've only known the man since I've been on council. He wasn't my friend before I got on council. I met him election night, or the night before election, when he got elected, okay? And yes, he's my friend now. He's like a brother to me now, because we've been working together to do what we can for the borough for the past 6 years. And whether you agree or disagree with what we've tried to do, right out there it is, okay? And you have water pipes that have been replaced that weren't replaced for 100 years, and they didn't get replaced because anybody jumped up and volunteered to do it. They did it because we forced the issue. And I challenge anybody to question us on that. We forced the issue about replacing those pipes, and you've all seen the pictures, or you should have seen the pictures, of what the hell they look like inside. And I can't believe that you would like drinking from what's inside that pipe. Now, they tell me it's safe, and okay, but we have pipes this big with this much passage inside. Now, that can't be good. Can't be good for drinking, can't be good for bathing, and it surely can't be good when your house is on fire and you need water pressure to put out the fire. And that's a little secret that nobody wants to talk about, but Crystal knows, because it was the same issue when she was on council. But it wasn't her fault that she couldn't get anything done. It was the municipal authority, okay? Because they control the water, all right?
That's true, but.
So, the reason these pipes are changed is the efforts of Mike and I. And another little secret that nobody wants to talk about is the fact that the reason that they got the grant money to do this work out here, this $1 million that the municipal authority got, was because of a meeting that Mike, me, John Kleindentz were in Gillespie's office out here with Stan Saylor. And if anybody wants to know who the money bags are up in Harrisburg, it's Stan Saylor. He's the money man, okay? In that meeting, we secured a grant for the park, and we secured a grant for the municipal authority, because we were working for the betterment of this community and to get things done and replace those damn pipes. Because I live here and drink that water. Well, I don't drink the water, but I use it for ice. I drink turkey ale iced tea. But I use those pipes to make my ice cubes, and I use those pipes to take a bath in. Okay? So, you know, I care about it. All right? So that's some of the stuff that people don't know about. You don't know about because we don't and we can't talk about sometimes until after it's over. But it goes on, and unless you find another dedicated employee like him, I'll guarantee you something as simple as putting the proper oil in the backhoe seems to be a challenge for some people, okay? But it's not for him, because he's a trained diesel mechanic, served in the military doing the very same job, and knows what the hell he's doing. And I trust him over anybody that I've worked with ever to get things done.
And if I don't know, I'm gonna call an engineer that made the product, or I'm gonna read a book. And I've run into here, in this borough, people that are afraid to pick up a book and ask questions. Okay, and it's cost this borough hundreds to thousands of dollars at a shop. And that's no, just lies, nothing bad mouthing anybody, but people, for whatever reason, don't ask, don't open the books. It's just how people are.
Something as simple as a maintenance log on equipment, which for anybody that's ever had a business and had equipment, knows that you have maintenance logs. And you do the things that need to be done at the rate, 70 miles and all that crap. You do that when you're in the government. The only person maintaining those logs is sitting right here. And when other people don't follow it, he's on them. We share equipment in this borough, okay? But I guarantee you there's one guy that fixes the equipment in this borough. So, you know, the frustration level of him not being appreciated angers me. I don't know why he puts up with it, quite frankly, but it angers me, and I try to do what I can, but I'm just one person, and when you talk to people, they give you the vacant stare. They don't know, they don't care. They just know they got done, and they don't want to know how the sausage is made. They just want to eat the sausage. Well, somebody's going to make the sausage, and if people don't show up to do it, it's not going to get done. The ranch don't roll in here by themselves, or like some people will tell you, we get them automatically, or John goes out and gets them all. Now, John is one of the most valuable assets this community has, with his institutional knowledge, and based on his age, he should have retired a long time ago. Even though the age that he tells us he is, but and I question, I think he's older than what he says he is. And he's still here. Why? Because he cares about the community, okay? Now we got the bean counter, he counts the beans, and always tells me how we don't have any money. But we find a way to get it done, we find a way to get money, you know? These people work very hard for not a lot of money, you know? Even Zach puts up with me, you know? Seems like a pretty good lawyer so far, I don't know. I know that previous lawyers, I'm perfectly willing to say that, the lawyer that you had when Crystal and I were on council together, that guy, I don't know how he passed the bar, quite frankly. We don't have documents from when he was here. We don't have copies of documents, things that he did work for us on. The borough doesn't have copies of that.
Let me say, we inherited him.
Yeah.
That was not,
They didn't hire him.
that is not the one that we
Yeah.
hired,
Yeah.
okay? So,
Yeah. So, there's a lot of stuff that goes on and people just don't understand. You think it's like it is in the movies, and it's not. It really isn't. In a small town like this, exactly like Mike said, there's a couple people that show up and a couple people that get things done, you know? And if they're not here, they don't work here, if they're not running things, I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not moving out. I'm not gonna be, be serving on council for at least 2 more years. I don't know what capacity after January, but I'll be here. We might just become the noisiest people here. I don't know. We'll see. Who else has a question? Oh, Ert, go ahead.
This doesn't relate to the wards or anything,
Yeah.
but you guys would know, when are they gonna start that disastrous bridge work, the state?
Oddly enough, there were 2 people in the meeting today from council with PennDOT. Mike and me, surprise, surprise, were the ones that showed up for that meeting, okay? So we did get some information on that, but it wasn't really about when it was gonna start. It's still, like,
The let is April 23 of 2000, or April of 2023, so what that means is they will bid that work and receive bids in April and award that project in April 2023. The first year, from what I've been told, is all gonna be limited impact to traffic. There will be some impacted times, but they will be working, when they start that, within a couple months after the bid is awarded, is going to be to secure the understructure and reinforce. And then after that work is done, they will, when the time comes to it, they're ready, they're actually gonna cut the top of the bridge deck and the sides of the bridge off. And then re-pour everything from that base up. That is when the bridge will be closed for 14 months is estimated. So you're looking between 2023 and 2027.
What happens when there's an accident on Route 30? I'll never get home.
It'll be a mess like there is now going through town. People are gonna be confused till they get used to that bridge even being closed. I mean, it's gonna be a mess. There is a plan. Unfortunately, the plan does not address short-term. It only addresses long-term. And it's still being worked through. I don't think, Chad, have you heard anything else on the emergency plan? The last I knew is some of these other projects they've done around, I think it's 422 in different areas up above Hershey and things, they've made kind of like cattle chutes at the end of some of the bridges where when you come off the bridge, they can divert traffic from one side to the other. But before they could do anything like that, they would have to place barriers, most likely would be cones or some type of portable barrier placed down the center line to divide the road at that point. That is their plan. The problem is in order for them at this point in discussion to activate that plan, they would have to have a fatality or some type of other major incident where they would perceive the bridge to be closed more than 4 to 6 hours before they would even make a decision to start that plan.
You were saying 14 months to close it entirely?
That is the current estimate that we've been given.
Okay. Like she said, you have a fatality on 30, what's gonna happen? I
Again,
mean, they're gonna be backed up to Gettysburg, you
and that
know?
goes back to the emergency plan. They do have an emergency plan, but they're gonna have to predict or get estimates from the police, the fire department. They're gonna have to call PennDOT supervisors in. They're gonna estimate 4 to 6 hours this is gonna be closed before they even start their emergency plan.
And what happens, like, if you need Columbia backup for fire, and they can't use the bridge?
We're just fortunate enough to have 2 bridges as it is.
Yeah, that's true, but
I mean, if we
you
didn't
have
have
it in
that, we'd be in an
Harrisburg,
even
you
worse
have,
spot.
how many bridges in Harrisburg?
Yeah, but you gotta go all the way there to even get across.
Oh, yeah, you
I
go
mean,
there,
at least
or
we have the
else
2
you go
to
down
get
to,
back and forth now.
Or the borough has the option when we know that those things are gonna happen to change our box cards with 911. and we believe that for whatever reason Columbia wouldn't be available to readily assist us, we could pull from Springersbury more, we could pull from Lower Windsor more. There are means for us to prepare, but we have to take those actions as a borough.
And what did anyone find out about a stupid roundabout off Wrightsville?
They're still
They're
talking
still
about it.
planning on that.
I mean, you're gonna have more accidents there than what you do now. If a truck comes off that bridge and hits some ice to try to get a roundabout, they're gonna be in his front door. I can tell you that right now, cause I plow snow, and I've seen these roundabouts not working too well.
I'm on record as opposing the roundabout, just so you know. And I wouldn't sign the agreement to do the roundabout, so.
I mean, you kinda admit, in order to use that, you're gonna have more accidents.
They say not, or PennDOT says not. You know PennDOT's always right.
Well, you come down there in an ice storm and you have an island sticking in your face, you're gonna end up on the island or you're gonna hit somebody head on.
My biggest concern was when a fat man like me tries to cross the street to get pizza. You know, trying to go across there is like Frogger, you know? I mean, you're gonna get squashed. People don't stop like they're supposed to at a crosswalk. And I was perfectly happy just putting in a traffic light, which cost half as much as a roundabout, and would give us a way to cross the street, because there'd be a red light, you could cross the street, and it would be a way for the fire company, when they're coming out of the firehouse, to change the lights, so that somebody coming down the hill that doesn't live around here and know that when the fire siren comes off, that there's gonna be a fire truck coming around that corner. Not everybody knows that. And when they're coming down that hill, they may hear a fire siren, but they don't know where it's coming from. And they just coming down there to Helen, and, you know, next thing you know.
It's the same way you come down Helm Street to go down the Front Street, and you usually slow up and pull over to the side. You have a roundabout there, what are you gonna do?
I don't know, we're gonna find out though.
I mean, don't these people in Harrisburg have any brains at all?
My impression of it was that they got these engineers that are good at making roundabouts, and they're going around the state making roundabouts.
You know, they probably can chew gum and walk at the same time.
I don't know, I go to the meetings and I try to talk them out of it, but they seem dead set
I
on
mean,
it.
I've been plowing for 52 years, and I've seen it all. And you can't imagine. You can't imagine. Like I said, a truck comes over the bridge, tries to go up the hill and hits ice,
It's
he's gonna be
stuck.
in your front door.
It's stuck now as it is, or
I know, but it's not as bad. People give way. You know, I come down Helen Street and I wanna go straight, I give way to the oncoming traffic coming off the bridge, okay? You have a roundabout there, there is none. There is none.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So the light up there at Ninth Street, forgive me for not remembering what the proper protocol is with the state again, with the traffic lights, I know Mike's up on this stuff. That light is a nightmare, okay? When you're going east-west, you don't get a long enough light. When you're going north-south, man, you got minutes that pass and you're sitting there. There's no turn lane on either of those. What's it take to get a turn lane?
Well, we tried to do that. You wanna tell them what?
basically, the red light is responsibility of two municipalities because it falls between two municipalities, Wrightsville Borough, Helen Township. Okay? When they redesigned for the grant that we got for the light to upgrade the traffic controller, it was retimed by PennDOT basically, that is supposed to make it operate more efficiently during peak hours of the day. I'm not sure that
It
it's
failed. It failed.
well, other than that, we would have to, the borough and Helen Township would have to jointly take action to do traffic studies and basically go through, modify the red light. And I don't want to fight for that because the majority of the traffic is not our residents. I believe that if the school's building, the school should pay for one directional arrow. I believe that if Lower Windsor's building, they should pay for another directional arrow. And maybe the borough and the township pick up some engineering costs. But I don't think we should be 100% using borough residents' tax money to improve a red light when we have not grown in any size Helm Township builds industry. Okay, now and I'll give them this. I think it was Dixon that was here when they built the first steel building out there. Okay, coming into town from Cool Creek, there's a left turn arrow. That was done as part of that
Yeah.
expansion. Every time somebody expands, we need to be on them. And I've talked to John about this. I've talked to York County Planning Commission. Okay, and I've went with Helm Township as in meetings with them, but I'm like, we need to go to Lower Windsor and tell them, even though their traffic impact says, oh, we're not gonna affect that red light. Okay, that they need to, if they're doing this, they need to help upgrade that light.
Alright, well, so there's a meeting, there's a zoning meeting, I guess on the 16th for that
Yep.
new school that they wanna build, which I don't know how it's gonna go, but I guess that's the time to go and,
Is that the zoning hearing board?
Yep. For
That's-
low.
that's about
for
a-
Lower
that's-
Windsor.
That's about a specific issue though.
Yes.
But that's not gonna, well, but it's still something to keep an eye on, because I'm telling you, in the morning, I take my youngest to school every morning, and I'm cussing at that light.
If you don't have enough
Because I
time
can't
to
get
make
through
it.
it, because there's traffic coming eastbound, I'm waiting to turn, and I sit through at least 2 lights just trying to get there, that's 5 minutes, and now he's late for school, and now I cut back through the neighborhood, because I don't have any other options.
Well, just for the second ward residents, when they put in the roundabout, their plan is to turn Second, road by my house, North Second Street, into a one-way in only.
Well, when we've talked about that, when I was on council, John brought that up about making that a one-way, which is feasible, but again, we're talking about PennDOT. Left hand, right hand, the two have not met, and we know that about PennDOT. They're inept at their job. I mean, that's, trying to be nice. I have no faith in PennDOT, and I don't, all they're gonna do is try and plow that roundabout once, and they're gonna get ticked off.
I think they try, but as we learned today, in the meeting we were in on a completely unrelated, well, it's related, but unrelated issue, that sometimes they're constrained by how the legislature wrote the law dictating what they do. In this particular case, we were talking about funding to replace striping and things like that. And PennDOT was like, well, you know, according to the law, we can't use this type of money to pay to do maintenance. We can only do it for projects, which gets into the whole weeds of where are you gonna find the money, and then you get the people that are helpful, like Lori Ike, that come in and she knows how to work the money, work the system, and get money around however they can. So it's all just a big confusing game. And you try to come out on top, and again, we try to do what's best for Wrightsville. We're here about Wrightsville, all right? Whatever we can get from PennDOT, we're gonna get. But they're looking all over the state, so we're just one little tiny part, you know?
I'm gonna keep an eye on the,
Isn't PennDOT in charge of 624 over here?
They are.
Yeah.
Then why is it gonna take so long to have it repaid?
Because it's done in conjunction with grant money that the borough's getting. It's, a lot of things go into that plan, or we wanted to do what was started back with the original park things. If you look up there, Crystal and them did back in what, 2007? No, before then. But when they did the comprehensive plan, started that park thing, you see the trees on Front Street with a nice sidewalk, the greenscapes. That started way back then. So through various meetings, don't ask me how many meetings I've sat through, don't ask John how many he sat through about it, but with discussions with PennDOT, grant people, and everybody else to see, have a design, they buy into the design, then you get the funding, then you gotta go back and change things, and it's a long drawn out process.
And then you have COVID, and you can't
Well,
get,
it just adds to it, but
and you can't get
PennDOT's
pipe.
maintenance projects were basically delayed to allow our project to happen and then their paving project, which they're not even gonna pave anymore. They're gonna give us, what, $78,000 towards paving as part of our project. So it's a long process, a lot of communication, a lot of organizing, but at the end of the day, it's the municipality working with the state. So our project's done, then it's paid, not vice versa.
And circling back on that, You can have people that are very good at that, or you can have people that aren't here doing it. And what do you think is gonna happen if we don't have the people that are very good at it taken care of? It's gonna be a big it's gonna be a nightmare. That's the way it is. So, that's why elections have results. So, anyway. Anybody else? Any other questions? Anybody want to yell? Edith, did you bring any popcorn? I forgot it. Everybody was going to school. But, so like I said, we're certainly willing to listen to you, just trying to do the best we can. But
I did take notice that up off of Locust Street going on to Cool Creek Road, or right there, someone did trim those Leland spruce along there that you can see. They only trim one tree, but it's still a bugger to see.
and you know why that tree got trimmed?
Well, I know, because I said a couple years ago, and he said he'll see what he can do with the state, because it's a state situation. But they only trim one tree, and it's lopsided as hell, but you can't see down towards the red light unless you pull your front end of your car or truck.
We were talking about that when you planted those trees.
Well, yeah, because I brought it up, because I had some Leland spruce that were only in the ground about 4 or 5 years, and I read up on them, and they said they get 45 feet round and they get 90 feet high. And if you go up here to John Wright, Mr. John Wright lives there in that corner, and he has 20 Leland spruce there, and finally he did trim them up so people can walk. But you look at one of those, and they're getting to the point where this gentleman is gonna have the same situation.
If you go up there according to PennDOT's manual and you do a sight distance triangle based on 35 mile an hour, when you pull up there, based that nobody's parked in front of the stop sign, if you're just about 3 foot off that shoulder, up to where the white line is, sitting in about knee level and you're looking, you should be able to see 250 feet to that yellow line. And it was measured by the borough myself, I was there, and it was also measured by PennDOT's engineer. And at that time, we spoke to Mr. Bowers that owns the property and informed him that currently it's okay, but if it continued to grow, and ever since, he's went out there and trimmed that about once a year.
So he has been cutting
The
it.
property owner has been the one to do that, nobody else.
Okay.
We checked into it, I met up there with the engineer, we sat, drew lines, stopped traffic, had a little chair out there, because if you read the book, you're supposed to be about 3 foot as eye level from a car. You should be able to look left, see 250 feet, come to a point where another driver's eye would be, which is just on this inside of the yellow line.
Yeah, I mean, I had
And
to
we
pull,
did all that.
I had to pull my front end out there.
I understand, I drive up and down every street,
Yeah.
every day, dang near.
And what about Locust and Seventh? Because you cannot see past that locust tree unless you pull out into the intersection.
No.
Somebody is going to get seriously hurt
Up there, you mean?
I saw somebody, they didn't even brake last week, they're lucky I didn't turn my car around.
Yeah, somebody's
I know where
gonna
they
get
live.
hurt or
They
killed, really.
blew that stop sign and turned left and there was a car coming. Somebody is gonna get seriously hurt. My son and I've taught my son, you slow down at that intersection.
I always slow down, I'm used to it.
I know,
Everybody gets used
but
to it, it's
people,
not everybody
but
is.
not everybody, and that's the other thing that concerns me, especially when you got traffic coming through the borough because of crap going on 30. Somebody's gonna get seriously injured, and I'm not a proponent of cutting down trees, but I'm telling you, that locust tree is a problem, you cannot see past it, there is no line of sight there.
I'd like to see a no left turn on Locust Street to go out there. Strictly a right-hand turn. That way you pull up, if a car's coming faster than what you anticipate, at least you can make a right and get going. But if you try to make a left-hand turn, you're gonna get T-boned, either one way or the other. I mean, that's just my thought because of not being able to see.
And the other thing, if you're noticed several years, and I can attest to this back, it's probably been 5 years since the speed limit signs were placed up there. There were no speed limit signs on between a certain portion up there. If you look, all the new speed limit signs that are up there, it was done. And I argued with PennDOT about that. PennDOT feels that coming down Pool Creek Road, which is 45, till you get almost to Locust Street, there should not be a reduction in speed through that red light.
Oh, shit. That's because of all the trucks.
I mean,
They believe that that reduction in speed should be on the opposite side of the red light, which legally you don't have to slow down until you get in that first, say, 50 feet of that sign where it is clearly visible to you. Legally, you don't. So I argued with PennDOT, there was never a sign by the Masonic Lodge on the other side of the road. PennDOT argued with me left and right that speed limit is 45, that's how the red light was designed, it is perfectly safe, and I told them they're a bunch of idiots. But those signs were put up probably 5 years ago, if I had to guess.
okay, now, on Locust Street, is that our jurisdiction?
To make that no left turn, yes,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a borough issue. 7th and Locust would be a better four-way stop. The problem is, when you start going into stop sign warrants, when you start pulling the book out and you read what you can legally and cannot legally do, there's not enough justification to put that into a four-way stop. John can sit there and tell you the same thing. And if you remember several years ago, I asked the police department to start recording accidents within the borough so we can see where we have problem spots. Okay, if there was 6 accidents there a year, that would automatically justify making that a four-way stop. But if we don't have 6 reportable accidents in a year,
Well, don't that same rule apply for a roundabout?
Thanks, Chad.
Zeus?
What about those flashing, I'm sorry, what about those flashing stop signs? What about something like that?
On Allen Street, you can't do it.
No, not on Howell Street, on Locust Street, to catch people's attention. I saw them out in, no,
You have
Arizona.
reflectors on the post.
Where they have like the stop signs that actually have the flashing red lights on them.
Yeah, well, there's warrants for that. Warrants being, you have to have justification for every one of those you do. But that's why I just asked Mike if there's a reflective tape you can put down the post.
there's
That's
red
an easy
on
one.
most of the ones up and down Locust Street already have.
When you start getting the flashing lights, there's a manual of uniform traffic control devices. You have to meet that manual.
And I think
There
we're
are
up to the
rules
year.
for
I
everything.
know, I know.
But do you
The
think that would be a good
MUTCD is
idea?
Federal motor, it's not PennDOT. PennDOT has a supplement to the MUTCD. So once you go to the MUTCD and you get a generalized answer, then you have to search 4 to 6 books of PennDOTs.
So folks, I'm happy to continue to talk to you, probably Mike, but our professionals and pay them by the hour. So if nobody needs them, we can let them go.
Yeah,
No, you.
And you don't pay me by the hour.
You can stay as long as you want. I gotta say, you stay as long as you're not paying you.
You can't rescind that now.
Does anybody have any questions for the mayor?
Yeah.
The mayor wants to say
You
anything.
think the hell's a good one?
yes, thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Will.
Hey, how are you?